So before we go any further, let's talk about why we irrigate. Why do California ranchers all over the state, but specific Calaveras County, why do we spend money and time and effort just making green grass? As grass grows, when it's green, it's growing, it's producing seed, or if it's clover, right, and it's starting to produce flowers, it's really high in protein. Okay, and the high protein content is obviously good for the cows, right? It's a requirement they need. So by doing this irrigation, this grass, which is a lot of clover here in this field, it's constantly growing when it's getting watered, and it's providing a good quality protein. As you see this grass behind me, that's all dead, it's headed out. That's all annual growth from last winter in the spring. Produce its seed, drop that seed. At its peak, this grass might be in the 30%, 25 to 30% protein range. As it dies out, it gets down into the 7% range. Later on into the fall, and towards the winter, it might be down to 3 to 4%. So that protein level can drop really, really fast once the grass dries out. There is nutrients in there. There is some quality to it. But it's not enough to maintain these cows, especially when they're getting close to calving, when they're producing, that last trimester of gestation. Those calves are getting bigger inside. And then after they calve, producing milk and things, we want to keep those protein levels up. So by irrigating this pasture, it's providing a high quality forage for those cows to eat, to maintain. I do open up the gates to the dry fields, as we go through this season. This pasture, this field total is about 15 acres, and half of that is dry ground up on the hill. I can only irrigate about 10. So I have to open the gate. I let them go to the dry feed and get a little bit of both, so they can get some of those nutrients that are in that dry feed. That also helps with digestion, to not just have a water heavy diet, but then come back down here and get some of that protein they need from the clover and the grasses here. And I'll show you as we go up into some of those fields and later on in other videos. I do have powdered mineral out there for right now for those cows. We'll do some protein supplements. Most likely I'll be doing some alfalfa feeding this winter, later on in the fall. But I have been looking into some protein blocks. I saw recently that I can get those that are 33% protein. So we're going to kind of explore that idea. Again, fellow producers, if you have thoughts or suggestions, if you have any experience with those protein blocks versus tubs or alfalfa, etc., feel free to throw those in the comments. Let me know. I'm happy to hear from you guys and what your thoughts are. But that's why I irrigate, to provide that quality. You can spend the money on water to get grass to grow that's high in protein and high forage quality, nutrients level, or you can spend the summer buying hay. That's expensive. Some guys, some of my friends of mine, have mountain range leases, and good on them. Those are hard to come by and people don't give them up, but they have Forest Service leases, ship their cattle up there. Get some good quality forage at 6,000, 7,000 feet for the summer. Again, a little bit of a cheaper option if you can get them, but not free by any means, and a lot of work to go up there. I have friends that spend a month at a time in the spring and in the fall putting up and taking down fence, because you have to fence in your leases, and find those cows that are all over the place. So I do this. I have family that does the mountains, to each their own. But that's what we do here. So continuing with my system and showing how this works, that oak tree up there on the bank, that's the one that I was just talking to all of you from underneath, and where that 10-inch pipe goes through the levee there. So that water, that 10-inch pipe takes about half the water that I get, is what it can handle, and it sends it around this side of the field. So it goes down into a little catch pond, a settlement pond there, where all those cattails, not cattails, but little tulies and things are, and there's blackberries, and then it flows around here. Recently, kind of worked on this ditch, made it a little better. Basically, trying to bring it around to this side. This field is a bit of a bowl, okay, in the middle. So trying to get water to kind of come down from both sides is really important. Helps this get more irrigated. So Been working on this ditch that goes along the driveway here for a long time. My dad recently purchased an excavator, a small one, and that made this a lot easier to open this ditch up, muck it out, and get the water to flow. So it goes down along here, and then I have, again, small boxes, just a couple of pieces of cinder block, got some concrete, and a little piece of plywood board where I can stop that water and spill it out. There's also buried along the bank here, there's a couple of little 2-inch pipes that bubble up right there where those little weeds are. There's one there, and it just kind of pumps that water up right behind that cow and gets this a little bit and just fills all this in. Here's an example of one of those boxes I was talking about that I put in along this ditch along the driveway. All this is, it's a little hard to see because there's a lot of debris on it, but it's basically 2 groove cinder blocks, one on each side. They're pretty cheap, you can get from any hardware store. And then a sheet of 3/8 plywood goes down that groove with a concrete floor at the bottom. The idea with these is not to stop all the water, as you can tell, but it's to slow it and turn some out. So a little bit of water goes out into the field, and then some water spills either around them, underneath them, over them, whatever it wants to do, down to the next one, and that one, same thing. So the idea is that each one of these along this field is letting a little bit of water out at a time and cover the field. I can pull these boards out, let all the water go by if I want to, depending on where I want to go. So, as we move throughout the day, I'm down here about halfway down the field. I'll move up like where those cows are. There's one there. I'll throw a board in there, make the water spill out up there by that tree because I don't have anything in there right now. Kind of work my way that way a little bit. And then this water just pours out right here in front of my 4-wheeler, and it just spreads out. And it'll flood this field, and I'll let it get nice and wet, really soak in, get about to the middle, and I'll move up to the next spot. And so that's how this half of the field works. Down towards the bottom, past the olive tree and my dad's truck in that lower part of the field, left side, same kind of thing. Basically all this water that's running off gets recollected in a ditch that goes across and goes down there to some more boxes, and I'll show you all that part here in a little bit. We're getting to the end of the day here now on this irrigation, and you can see the upper part of this field is pretty well saturated. We've got most of what we need to cover up there covered today. So I wanted to talk about a little bit about the lower field and then overnight. So as you can see, there's a pretty good stream running here. This is basically collecting any excess runoff that's going on in the upper portion of the field. It gets recollected into this ditch here. Some diverts right there, and then we'll go down and fill up this pond, and then the rest comes across the field here. We'll go down where all that dock is growing and runs along that side of the field. I need to get in and clean that ditch out, but it's on my priority list. But again, so much time in the week, and working 6 days a week right now, so sometimes I have to kind of go on the back burner. But again, all along there down below that rock wall by my mom and dad's house, there's more of those little boxes, those checks, cinder blocks and plywood, like in the upper field. That stops the water, it spills out and runs across that field. It slopes pretty good to the middle. Over to this side, this little pond here, this fills up for the cows to drink out of. But then also it spills over its dam a little bit, and some goes into those pipes there and kind of works outside the field. Could be a little more efficient if it was sprinklers and things. Obviously those spots where it's high and can't really get gravity flow water on some of those higher dead spots. So that's unfortunate. We're looking at knocking those down with the excavator or something, making those a little flatter so they can green them up. And eventually I'd like to look at, there is an existing ditch up on that hill up there where all that dead is, that's not currently active. Got to do some repairs on it, but we're looking at trying to bring that into the system as well and green up that rest of that, maybe another 5 acres or so. It's almost 8 o'clock now, so time to make our last change for the night. So what do I do overnight with this water? Is sometimes a question that I get asked. As you guys saw in the field, down by the house, That 10 acres doesn't take a full day. I don't have enough irrigated pasture right now to really use 24 hours of water, the full 4 acre feet that I get on irrigating. I'm working on expanding that. I have some plans to do a little bit of ditch down farther past where that last box is and that 6-inch pipe that I showed you. I also have a field kind of in the back of the ranch that I'm hoping eventually to get water through to, going through the neighbor's property over here. So I have plans to use that water. I'm just not able to do it right this minute, but I can't really give it up. Number one, our system, the way that our system works, it's a 24-hour system. If you take a day, you have to take the full day. You can't just take part of a day, give somebody the night. It doesn't really work like that. And also, I don't want to give it up. Water's hard to come by, right? If I give up that extra 12 hours or so, there's no chance I might get it back. So what I do with it is I turn it into our pond. I have a little bit of irrigated pasture here above our pond, about an acre or so. And then it goes into the pond overnight and fills up. So I got the drone ready to go. I'm going to have it fly up and get some aerial shots of me changing this last box from the head ditch into this little bit of irrigated. Try to kind of fly around to get some images of that, and then we'll talk about what's going on. Okay, as you all saw, so put one board in, open up the other. This system isn't really set up to take the full ditch. It's the best I can do, so some of it's going to run around. But what I try to do is I try to do this a little bit before dark. It comes off, and then the majority of that head ditch will drain down a little bit through my pipes and boxes down at the big oak tree down there. And then right before I go home for the night, what I'll do is I'll close all those off and open up the boxes so the water can go to the neighbors. That way in the morning before work, I can come and just change this one box and I'm good to go. If I didn't have to work tomorrow, if it was, a Saturday and I had tomorrow off, I would leave all those pipes and everything down there open, and then I'll do that in the morning. But days I have to work, it saves me a little bit of time to just do it tonight. So water comes out of this box, goes into one of these 3 pipes. Actually, right now it's just running under that white one because the cows kind of messed it up, but that's okay. So one goes down that way. There's a ditch that runs along kind of parallel to the head ditch and irrigates that side. I can see it's kind of stopping up right there, so I'm going to investigate that. One runs through the middle, does the majority of this middle field, and then this pipe goes across and hits a ditch over there and it runs down the other side, greens all that. So this kind of gets from both sides. This gets a little bit of extra green. I do have some cows in this field right now that are separate from the other cows, and I'll talk about why they're in here in another video. Probably about a month. We'll go through that when I have to bring them in. That way they're separate. But this just runs down, goes into the big bass pond there. And for right now, it just sits there and eventually will evaporate out. I don't have any way to pull water from the pond right now. That's another thing we're looking into. Solar pumps or a valve on the spillway by the dam, something like that where I can pull water out of there to irrigate. But currently it just goes into the pond. There are bass in there. The geese use it, the ducks use it. So another thing I want to look into is, are there any kind of natural resource conservation grants or stewardship programs where maybe I can get some grant money or support money for wildlife habitat management, something like that, for what goes into the pond, offset this cost. It's something we're looking at in the future. But this is where the water will go tonight. Normally it doesn't get changed till 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Our schedule is 8 a.m. to 8 a.m. But I'm going to probably be out here around 6 tomorrow to change this. I have to be in Jackson for work at 7. So the neighbors are going to get an hour or so of free water, and that's fine. So that's irrigation day here at Ranch 75 Cattle Company. There's some challenges, some things that I want to do better, but you see how I'm doing it so far and what's working for us and how we're using the water. And again, why we're using it, right? All about producing that high quality forage for these cattle in the summer months. So we don't have to supplement with hay or protein, something like that as much. Get them that protein content they need to grow good, strong, healthy calves, strong, healthy fetuses before they calve, etc., etc. Other producers out there that are watching, my fellow farmers and ranchers, my challenge to you on this video is a couple things. Number one, I'd love to see or hear in the comments what type of systems do you have? Using sprinklers? Are you using siphons? Are you using flood irrigation like this? You know, what are other people doing out there in their systems? What are you irrigating with? And then where can you improve? I'm always looking for what I can do better, how things can be more efficient here. I can do more with less. So maybe you think about your own practices and in your own operations, and is there something in your operation, the way you're using your water, you can do better? Put that in the comment as well. I'd love to hear from all of you and see what we're all doing to become more water efficient. For the rest of you, as always, if you have questions or if there's things you'd like to see, please leave comments. I'd love to interact with everybody and make this a better learning experience. If you have suggestions, I'm happy to take those as well. And then some of you did in the last video, but don't forget to hit that subscribe button in the corner. And that way you'll get notifications when the next videos come up, because like I say, they're not going to be necessarily on a set schedule. Just as I'm out here doing videos and there's something to record, I'll try to do weekly or so, but that's going to be hit and miss. So hit that subscribe button, that way you don't miss one. Don't forget to check out that link in the description to Utica Water and Power Authority's video that they did. That's a great one. Shows how the water gets from the mountains to here, at least to the beginning of the system, and then comes down to us. And again, if there's anything I missed, feel free to reach out and ask. Until next time, thanks for joining me again on the ranching side. Have a good day.